We never come on here serious. We are always laughing about something.
Yeah, and we're live now, Frankie. How about that, huh?
Hey everyone, how you doing?
Woo,
So this is Frank Thompson, a very, very good friend of mine. More like a brother, actually, literally. I love this guy with all my heart. He has helped me through some pretty dark times. And although we've only known each other for what, 4 or 5 years now, Frank?
Yes.
It seems like I've known this guy since I was a little squirt, literally. So this is Frank Thompson. He's going to join us today on our show. And we're obviously talking about leadership. And, leadership, we talk about how we have to lead from a place of empathy and compassion. And, there's a lot going on in the world right now. So, we could probably go off on all kinds of tangents, but, as leaders, I think it's our role to really just stand tall and stand straight and draw that line of making sure that we stay in a position of empathy and compassion.
Right.
And understanding. For sure. So, Frank, why don't you give us the 2.5-minute version of your history and what you did, what you're currently doing, and how's it going?
All right. First of all, I'm excited about being here, and thank you for having me on. And I really, really look up to both of you guys and had a great conversation earlier this week. Well, my name is Frank Thompson. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in the summer of '94. Met a guy who became my financial mentor, and he was from the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area. He was in his late 50s. I was in my early 20s, and he took me under his wing. And basically, I was working at a printing company called Quad Graphics at the time. And he basically told me, like, Frank, have you ever heard of the industry of direct sales? I told him no. And from there, he just pointed out 3 things I needed to do in life. I did those 3 things. And that same year, actually December of that year, he helped me make 3 times more than I was making at that printing company. And I walked out of that printing company at 21 years old. And now I'm 46. I'll be 47 in August. I haven't had a job since. So I've been a top earner in a lot of companies, helped change a lot of people's lives, coach, mentored all types of people from all different backgrounds. And right now, one of the companies I'm building, I'm breaking records in that company too. So helping people is at the top of my chart because you can't make it in my industry unless you have a heart for helping people or unless you're a people's person. So, in this industry is how I met Fritz. And he became not just a friend, but a brother. And we started calling each other friends, but on another podcast, we'll have to tell that story, how we united and really got close. So that's what I've been doing.
That's awesome. So you definitely been playing a leadership role, haven't you?
Oh, definitely.
So how would you describe yourself as a leader? Because yesterday we talked about how you show up as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what style of leadership you have.
Right.
So how would you say your leadership style and you show up as a leader in businesses and how you show up as a leader in community?
All right. Well, let me start with business. When you talk to the average person, they never forget their teachers, right? So, they remember their high school teacher, their grade school, elementary teachers, right? And another thing, if they play sports, they never forget their coaches. So when I'm in business, I try to be a teacher/coach because teachers have the ability to take something complex and simplify it. Right. So when you get a lot of people who weren't in the industry, they know nothing about it, and it's confusing to them, they gravitate towards people that can simplify it for them. Mm-hmm. So I try to be a teacher and try to take that and adapt that type of mentality when helping people. Now, as far as the coaches is what you are great at, Fritz. This is where you're the king. Is a coach sees more in you than you see in yourself, and they'll get you to achieve more than you ever believe you can achieve. So, I've seen people like one young lady, she had 3 jobs when I met her, and she just couldn't see herself doing it. She didn't believe in herself. So I started coaching her And, after 6 months, she went down to 2 jobs. After a year and a half, she went down to 1 job. And after 2.5 years, she was completely job free. And if you go look at her Facebook page, she's constantly taking trips. As a matter of fact, she's on a trip right now with her husband and her kids. So that's the idea of a coach. Now, as far as community, I try to set the example, right? I try to show that, being smart and intelligent is not a bad thing. I don't glorify violence. Another thing is, you just try to be a model person. I smile a lot because smiling is universal, right? And it gets people to drop their guards. So when I meet a new person, the first thing I do is this, because, right? Because certain languages are universal. I don't care if you can't speak the same language, but a smile or a head nod or a wave lets people know that, hey, I'm not a threat. I want the same thing you want. We want happiness, and we want to meet at a level pace. So that's how I try to do in the community and give good advice and lead by example. So those are the things I do for business and community.
Great answers. Kim?
That is a great answer. I guess just what popped to mind is when you're dealing with people who are in an industry that they're not familiar with.
Yes.
And especially adults that think that, I've done everything, I've learned everything. And wouldn't you say that it's true that you don't know what you don't know?
Oh, it's very true. And the moment you think you've known it all is the moment you start dying. You're always learning. I don't care who you are. Even the smartest person can learn something from the dumbest person. So you have to always be a good leader is also a great follower. You can't learn to lead anyone until you learn how to follow and humble. Being humble, teachable, coachable, and being a great follower makes you a great leader.
Right.
Very well said.
And, because we are, golly, I have 1,000,001 questions. Maybe I should have actually made a more substantial list.
Fire away.
See, this is what we do. We totally are off script because this is reality, right? This is how we connect with people. This is how we find the deeper meaning of our relationships. It's just like, wow, you just blew my mind. And now I'm trying to come up with another question. But you're coaching in all different backgrounds, right? You're coaching people that have never been in a business that they are in control of, right?
Right.
You're dealing with people that come to the table that have worked in the W-2 world for so long.
Correct.
And they're told to do certain things a certain way, and they've really never been allowed to be creative. Explain to me the feeling that you get when you finally hit that, like you hit that nerve of somebody finally being okay with just being who they are, and you watch them kind of come into this new sense of self.
It's the greatest feeling ever, because the number one reason why people fail is not because someone tells them no. It's really the fear of what someone else thinks about them. And, you're not truly free in life until you can truly walk down the street and not give, what.
It's okay to say it. You know who's on the show, right?
Right. Fritz is on the show, so I'm looking at him like, can I say it? But
yes, you can.
This guy, Fritz, when I tell you he has a shotgun mouth, he has a shotgun mouth. So. Well, it's nice. When you don't give a hell about what someone says about you, then you're free, and so many people live the cage life. They try to live their life through how others view them, and then they don't live a happy life. So, the number one thing in life is when I watch people who really want something, I watch them overcome that and be who they are, and then start living the way they want to live, then it makes me feel accomplished. So I would say people not caring what others think is probably the highest level of achievement that you can see when you're working with someone.
And I think just to capitalize on what you said is that, for those of us that work in this industry, right, we work on mindset and leadership and having a better relationship with ourselves and where we're going, is that the misconception is that we don't care about what people think, but we really do. It's more of what you think about me is none of my business, and it's not going to direct me or make me feel as if I can or can't do something, because your opinion of me does not dictate my success.
Right.
That's really what that means.
Yeah.
That was yeah.
That was good, right?
That was good. That was good.
what we do.
But you know what? I mean, Frank, you really bring up a great point, because I think a lot of people do, they care too much and they put too much stock in what other people think of them.
Right.
And that totally paralyzes them from achieving any sort of success, because they're stuck with that. And there's so much to be said. I know Frank said, you got to make sure that people don't give a hell about you. Well, you got to make sure that you don't give a shit what people think about you.
Yeah.
Because that's literally the wall that stands in between you of where you're at and where you want to go. Because everybody wants to achieve more than where they're currently at. It's just an innate thing. We always want to be doing better. We always want to be striving better. But unfortunately, we have these belief systems that we're stuck with because of our micro and our macro environments, our experiences. It all creates this belief system that we have. And then that belief system dictates how we go through life. And Kim and I just got done talking about this because, as you know, Frank, we're in the process of developing this flagship product of ours. And it's really taking so many of these books and these trainings and these seminars and all of this stuff that we've gone through, plus the coaching certifications. And now what we're doing is we're basically connecting everything, and we're not going, what did I say before? We're not going from the 0 to 5 foot level. Yeah. We're going down to the abyss, where your body will feel the pressure and it'll feel like it wants to collapse, but we're there to help you. And all of the resources are within everybody, but we just have to help bring them out. And as leaders, I think that, especially in today's time with everything going on, it is so important for the people that have that leadership ability to just stand up, stop reading, stop being a fucking spectator on the side of the, sitting in the bleachers, get on the damn football field and play the game with us and help make these changes that need to be made, because it's that type of leadership. It's that bold leadership that needs to happen so that we can get to where we want to go.
Right.
What is your thoughts on that rant?
On that rant.
That's what happens.
It's
like,
passion.
no, and you know that, Frank. That's just the way I am.
No, listen. I'm glad you guys started this podcast, because I've been honored to just listen to Fritz coach and teach me for years since we've known each other. So this is a great platform for people to see who you are, and meeting Coach K. This is a perfect union. But to answer that, I think that, like you said, with a lot of things that's going on in the world today, it's also an exciting time, because love is starting to win, and people are starting to pay attention to each other's differences, and people are fighting for each other. And this is a time where, what the future holds is going to be amazing, because things that are taking place right now are things that we didn't think we can advance to this level. And when I tell you that, I've met a lot of great people, but Fritz and I talk. And even though, like, when Fritz and I get together, we're colorblind, like we're just two guys that's together. And like I told Fritz, I know that if I was homeless, he'll say, hey man, you can come to my house in a heartbeat. As a matter of fact, he'll probably say, hey, I'll sleep downstairs and Frank can sleep in my bed, and it's vice versa. But the thing in life is, there's people who don't see the same views as us. But I think what's taking place in the world today, those people are getting overpowered and things are getting better. And that's where it starts. It starts with people taking a stand. And from taking that stand, you start watching all the bridges and the barriers start to break down. And that's what's starting to happen, because a lot of people are seeing things differently, but they're really trying to understand. And sometimes, when people argue, it's because they don't communicate the right way. When people have two different opinions, when you hear the other opinion, that doesn't mean that they're against you. It just means that they see something different than you see. I don't know if you ever see a picture and there's a guy standing here and a guy standing there, and there's a 6 there. And from the guy at the top, it looks like a 9, and the other guy at the bottom, it looks like a 6. Right. And even though they're both right, they're both just giving their point of view. So a lot of time people give their point of view, and then when you give yours, they're upset and they're angry, but they don't understand the job is to take your point of view, compare it to their point of view, and let's come up with a medium. So that's where I see it at.
Go ahead.
I know. I've got so many things. I do. And so being that we're really focusing in on leadership, and we're so grateful that you decided to come on here with us and share your piece of what leadership means to you. Yeah. It's not always about that outward person leading us. It's really about our inner self, our inner man. Yes. That the renewing of the inner man that comes through as we learn ourselves more and more. And that's really what we are developing with Own Your Life, is not own everybody else's life. You need to take all the pieces of what you've learned, understand yourself better, so that when you do come to these conversations, you come with a broader sense of who you are and what you're willing and ready to listen to.
Right.
So the depth, as Fritz was talking about, the depth that we're going to take you is going to probably be pretty uncomfortable at some points, but the hope is that breakthrough comes through and you become the leader that you've been searching for, because that's the greatest gift, right? Is if you can't find the leader, you should become that leader that you're looking for. And so, that was the piece. And I think the step that Fritz and I were at, and it's all about timing. It was not our timing. It's God's timing that we'd all be sitting at the same table together. And we will, mark my words, be sitting at the same table with you.
Oh, definitely.
We're only separated because, work and things like that, but
and distance.
a little bit of distance, not bad though. But wouldn't you say that every good coach needs a coach? Right? You constantly need to be learning and renewing your mind.
Yes, definitely. Because like I told Fritz, your mind is like a pitcher of water. And I told him, I said, Fritz, I need to talk to you so that I can refill my pitcher. I said, all these conversations I had all day, my pitcher is empty. I've been pouring out all day. So yeah. You're right. And you guys are dead on accurate by saying that, you can't be afraid to be broken all the way down, because that's the only way you can be repaired. If you look at construction, they tear down buildings down to nothing, clear it away to rebuild some of the most beautiful buildings you've ever seen. So a lot of times in life, you can't be repaired until you reach that deepest point. So like a lot of people, they can't repair themselves, or they can't move forward because they can't revisit what got them damaged. Mm. So a lot of times you have to face what got you damaged, and you have to go through it. You have to cry, kick, fight, do whatever it takes, because until, like if a person's an alcoholic, they're not going to get better until they realize they're an alcoholic. So stage 1 is admittance. So once you can admit to something, then you start conquering what's holding you back. So when, Fritz told me a long time ago, and what I love, and if anybody's on this podcast, now I'm just meeting Coach K, but from the last conversation and from what Fritz has been telling me about you, I know you're pretty genuine. But what I can speak for Fritz, the business that we got in, everyone joined for the money. He was the only person that says, you know what? I didn't join for the money, Frank. I joined for the people. And he says, one day you'll see me standing up there and I'll be building people up and I'll make them the best person they are. He said that when I first met him, and this has been his passion. So, his passion is going to become his profits, but he's not doing this for profits. He's really doing this to help people. And this is a passion of his. So I know that he's been really working on himself. He's been, taking courses from some of the top people on planet Earth, and he's qualified to teach people on how to become the best them. And he's also gave me your story. And I didn't know that you was it Miss Wisconsin? Mrs.
Wisconsin 2019. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now see, that's a big feat in itself. and he told me, he says, to hold the crown for a year, and to, that's something that no one can ever take away from you. So you guys are more than qualified to tell people what it's like to go down and come up and be on top. So I'm excited for it.
You know, I really liked your analogy of being broken, right? We're broken. And during my reign as Mrs. Wisconsin, I was a guest speaker and a keynote speaker for a lot of areas.
Yeah.
And the one thing I always told my story, always first, it was always my story, because I really liked showing up for places with my crown and dressed to the nines and, you know, representing my state. But I think even more, I liked the judging eyes in the audience of who does she think she is and how is she going to speak to what we are here for. And then I come in and I want to chest kick them with my story. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but at the end of my story, I always told, and I truly believe that, you know, we are all cracked for a reason.
Right.
And God makes us that way, because how else would the light shine through us for other people if we weren't already broken?
Wow. That's great. I'm still.
I don't want somebody to come in perfect, because really there is no perfect. But people certainly like to think that, you know, because nothing has really gone wrong in their lives, there's still a lot of brokenness that's in there.
You know what? I'm looking down because I'm I'm writing down when you says, how can light shine through us to other people unless we're broken?
We need to be broken. And, you know, to be broken is the best piece, because it allows our light to shine through.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, you know, for the United States pageant, for the United States crown, that's really what it stood for, which I didn't really know until I started running, obviously, for Mrs. Wisconsin, was that the crown stood for being the light.
Wow.
And I truly believe that everything that's happened to me over the past, well, my whole life, but certainly the past 12 years have brought me exactly where I should be. I had to go through things. Things had to happen for me in order for me to sit here and speak to you genuinely and with empathy and compassion and love, and being able to give of ourselves, because as our bios say, it wasn't just found somewhere and we copy pasted. These are things that we have gone through that gives us the certification. We're already certified.
Oh yeah.
We're already certified to do this, as well as many other people. But the problem is that we go in and we pick up a book and we take some notes and we get a couple chunks and then we file it away and we only fill our cup up to like this far.
Right.
And then we think we can go and coach other broken people when we're still really super broken.
No, you can't.
You're starting to. There are baby steps, right?
Yes.
But don't show up to a battle of wits unarmed. Don't come into something that you're not fully prepared for.
Right.
And so that's where fear comes in, right? We start questioning who we are. We start questioning our abilities. Then shame sets in. Then we sit back here in fear, which we could sit and think that we're not qualified enough to show up here today. We're not qualified enough to give everything that's on that board behind us that we did in about 5 minutes. But what people don't see is the months and the hours and the days leading up to that breakthrough.
Right.
We're so glad that we came to it at this moment, right before our conversation with you, because we had talked about you coming on last week.
Yes.
And we weren't ready. We didn't realize it though, because you don't know what you don't know, right? Until right now. Right now was the perfect time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good.
Wow.
So I got a question for you, Frank.
Fire away.
And this is probably gonna lead to a little bit of vulnerability for you.
Go ahead.
How do you lead yourself?
Oh wow. How do I lead? Oh, that's a wow. That's a good question.
That smile.
And you know why? I had to stop and think about it, because I'm a selfless leader. Sometimes I help so much and I pour so much into other people that I'm that leader that always forgets about himself. And I get that from my mom. I watched my mom, at family events. I've watched her get up early in the morning, 5 a.m., start preparing food, chopping away at vegetables, seasoning meats, getting grills together. By noon, she's still running. When the people show up, I'm watching her run from person to person. And it's like we're at a restaurant and she's the waitress because she's running up to, hey, you want another soda? Hey, you want this? You want that? And she was serving people so great that they weren't even getting up unless they had to use the restroom. And, by the end of the night, I was like, wow, I never seen mom eat, and then I looked down and all the food is gone. And then I was like, hey, mom, did you eat? Did you get a plate? She was like, oh, no, that's all right. I'm fine. And it's like 8 p.m. And I'm thinking like, wow, she just spent the whole day giving everyone else to the point where she forgot about herself. So it's like, I think my blessings come because I forget about me and I pour into so many other people that when you help everyone get what they want, life always takes care of you. So to answer that question is not the answer that I would have thought, but my answer would be, I lead myself by leading others, because by helping others, I usually end up helping myself. So,
I've said many times that even on here or when I used to teach group fitness, it was, when I'm yelling something, it's not necessarily for you. It's for me. It's for me, So yeah, I 100% understand that. And it's really true that I was the executive director for a nonprofit for 3 years, helping veterans and their families. And I pretty much missed my family for about 3 years because I was going 100 miles an hour because, if I'm not going to do it, who else will?
Right.
And I would go home so empty feeling sometimes. That the only way to kind of fill my cup back up was to put some headphones in and listen to the top leaders in the industry talk about mindset and power and grace and faith, and knowing that all of your sacrifices, if done for the right reasons, will produce fruit that you have no idea. That's just going to blow your mind.
Right.
And so we're kind of sitting in this space right now of just giving and giving and giving. And I'm sure that what is on the other side of our giving, because we hit walls, I'm sure you as a leader that you hit walls because you're innovating yourself.
Yes.
And you sit back and, the old mindset says, I don't know if I can keep going. And the new mindset says, oh my gosh, we're hitting resistance. Wait till we bust through that wall. It's going to be like so much bigger than we could possibly even imagine, because you don't know what you don't know. Just kind of bringing it all the way back around is you can't lead without leaders.
No.
You can't lead without yourself. You can't lead without faith. You can't lead without empathy and love, period. So here we are. And all the time, I love this, is that we're getting new people chiming in to our conversation. And so this is that wave that we were talking about earlier with depth of what we're bringing to the people, and why we come in here every day and study and put things on the board is that we are giving of our hearts every day. We wake up with a renewed mind of what is the next thing that we're going to help people get past? What's that next barrier that we can bust down for other people and bring them to the arena with us?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're really excited to have you on here, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. The last time when we were setting it up and things didn't work out, I felt like I let Fritz down and you down. And I was like, oh, he says, don't worry. And then everybody's schedule was busy, but today is perfect. I don't know if it's raining there, but it's raining.
It is raining here. It's perfect.
Yeah, so it's perfect. And then, we don't want a nice day because a lot of people will be missing this right now. So
Right.
they're forced to sit in and listen to this, so today's perfect.
Yeah, no, everything happens for a reason. Your computer took a dump for a reason.
Yeah.
So we could prolong this another week so we could get on because, like Kim was saying, we had a breakthrough moment today. There was a certain energy. and you have the time, you're not occupied by other things, your mind can be in this.
Yes.
And and honestly, this is kind of unique to sit and have this conversation with you, because usually when I'm having conversations with you, it's like, hold on a minute, I got to get this call with the crowd, be right back. Hold on a minute, I get this call, I got to be right back. And we probably in a 3-hour conversation will have an hour of conversation, and the other 2 hours I'm on hold.
It's interruptions. But you know what? So many great conversations that Fritz and I had that we will call each other the next day and say that conversation should have been recorded.
Oh my God. That was like almost daily.
Daily. We've had some legendary conversations. We had some conversations that I think it would have went viral multiple times, because we went like soul searching deep, and and I told Fritz, I says, man, I think we've solved a lot of the world's problems and issues from this conversation.
Yeah.
So we get a lot more done on our conversations than what's probably taking place around the world. But that's what you got to do. You got to find people who are at the same energy as you. And when he started telling me about you, Coach K, he was like lighting up like a Christmas tree. And let me tell you, you have to be genuine to get next to Fritz. Like, I'm glad I can say it. He's a bullshit smeller.
Me too.
Listen, every person that crossed me and did me wrong, he spotted them out first. And he tried to warn me, and he says, Frank, as your friend, I'm going to tell you this, and I hope you take it the right way. And when he told me, I was like, okay, I'll take it to heart, because it's coming from you. And the times I didn't listen, it was the biggest kick in the ass I ever got in my life. And I was like, how did he see this a year ago? And he was like, told ya. And yeah, fast. So for him to talk to you about you the way he was talking about you, I didn't have to research you, because he's a great researcher. If you were no good, you would not be Coach Fritz and Coach K.
That's true. And this is a 3-year, relationship that really has started just in passing conversations. And, of course, I was going a million miles an hour, and he had his W-2 job. And so every time we connected, it was more like, here comes Fritz, because I knew that he wanted that intellectual moment.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't being fed that where he was before.
Yeah.
For him, it was validation that he was going in the right direction. And so, I, like he famously says, I pretty much kicked him off the ledge when I called him out as to, why do you keep going to work when that's not your calling? You've elevated yourself to the point where that's why you're not comfortable in your job anymore, is because you have outgrown where you are. And that's a good thing to recognize, that when that happens, when you've outgrown that mentally,
right,
energy is elevated, it's time for you to make a change. That's why that uncomfortable piece is there.
Yes.
And Frank can probably relate to that. So, and I'll pose this because you just said it. At what point did you know that about me, Frank?
Well, I always joke with Fritz, and I told him, I said, God really blessed you, because he gave you the heart to be understanding and caring, but he also gave you the physical look to rip somebody's heart out, So, and listen, when you see Fritz, his demeanor is so intimidating, because he's this big towering figure, right? And when you see him, I think WWF wrestling, right? But then when you talk to him and you get to know him, oh, he's the nicest guy you'll ever want to meet. When I tell you that Fritz is like a walking feather, but don't get the feather mad, because that feather grows into a hawk. A hawk that swoops pretty dangerously. So, one thing I learned about Fritz is that he's fair. Nobody's perfect. I'm just pointing out, because we can point out bad things about all of us, but right now I'm pointing out all the things that I see. And one thing I'll tell you is, he's quick to let you know if he's wrong or if you're wrong. If I'm doing wrong, he'll say, nope, Frank, you're doing wrong. So you need a person that tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So you'll get that out of Fritz. we've never had an argument, not even close to an argument. We're too busy talking about positive things and how to move forward, how to move each other forward, how to move, help people, ideas to grow. And, and if we talk about anything sad, it's just something that's going on in our lives, and we'll give each other encouragement, but not even close to I can't even think of anything that's even close to never in all these years. I've seen him mad, but
but not at you.
Yeah, not at me.
Yeah.
I was pitying the people that he was mad at, but it's just great to find a person that lifts you up. You go in the world and you get beat up, beat down, and then, you have a friend to call you, and then he's checking on you, seeing if everything's okay with you, sharing things with you, and lifting you up, and then leave you with words of encouragement, and always, leaving you with something that you can take and pour into other people. Just like I was telling you earlier, you got to have people around you that can pour back into you, or else you can't. Because let's just say if your head was a jug of water, and don't say anything, Fritz, because he might say my head looks like a jug of water. But if your head was a jug of water, and every time you help someone, let's say the water level goes down. If you keep helping everyone and no one helps you, you'll run out of water. So that's what you get out of this podcast. Is some people like me, I have to start plugging into this podcast because you don't have a lot of people that can help pour into your jug. And this is where you get it from. And it's so many empty head, jug head people walking around. Everyone needs someone to lift them up. And when Fritz first told me about, coaching and doing all that, I said, well, it sounds like a great idea. But now that I see it, in full fashion, I think it's one of the best ideas, and it's going to really grow. And because you guys are so neutral and you're so fair, I think that you're going to have so many different guests that's going to come on, and it's going to be one of the biggest podcasts as time goes. So, yeah.
Well, I'm very honored to have you speak those kind words. Just be vulnerable. It honestly makes me a little uncomfortable to hear such good things. That's not what this was designed for. That's really not the direction I thought it was going to go, but very humbled by what you have said. But you got to realize, Frank, you've done the same for me. It's just, you've been that leader for me, even though you probably didn't know it at times. But there's points in my life that you literally ripped me out of the gates of hell and put me back in my place to allow me to be who I am today and have this opportunity that I have with Kim to have this company. And so you also played a very large role in that. And
wow.
You believed in me when other leaders didn't believe in me. You stood there. You stood your ground for me. And as leaders, we're always going to see something in people that other people may not see.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is where the courage as a leader, it's not so much the courage to lead people, but the courage to stand up for the people that can't stand up for themselves, or that you see in them something they don't even see in themselves, or other leaders don't see in them. And how courageous are you to be able to stand against that?
Right.
They will come at you. They will say things, but they're driven by different things. So, even though I was in those positions and you were in those positions, it was difficult to practice empathy with those types of leaders and try to see where they're at and why. And a lot of it did boil down to the belief system.
Yeah, it did. It boiled down to the belief system. And, and another thing for being a leader is you got to learn how to make your own decision and make the final decision for you. You can't let other people dictate your decisions.
Right.
Because all the people that told me, in the company we were in, Fritz was just getting started. I was a top earner in that company. So, you know, in this industry, top earners always turn their nose up and walk past people like they're too good for them. And, you know, and here I am, a top earner. Fritz is just getting started, and everybody's looking at me like, why are you wasting all that time with that guy? He's not making you any money. And I'm looking back at them like, are you kidding me? He gives me more out of a 30-minute conversation than I've ever gotten since I've known you. And they're looking at him, and I'm saying, man, this guy can teach you so much. And when I told Fritz, I was like, Fritz, he says, don't worry about it, Frank. And do you know all those people? I don't get one phone call from none of those people.
Mhm.
You know who calls me all the time and says, hey, and ends the call with, hey, man, I love you. That guy right there.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, you have to learn how to make your own decision and not let people dictate how you see people, view people, or who you should hang around or who's important to you in your life, because
Right.
you'll lose great things listening to other people, you know. So, and then you buy their life, you buy their opinion, you buy their lifestyle. You know, most of those people were lonely, they were alone, and here they are telling you how to leave a person, and you're going to leave the best thing that ever happened to you listening to them. Yeah,
Yeah, and you'll probably spend the rest of your life building somebody else's empire
exactly.
instead of building your own. And, you know, Fritz and I come to the table with an understanding that we are really sick and tired of seeing people's greatness in them
Yes.
and them not having the testicular fortitude to go out and get it, to ask for help, to just have an honest conversation about, you know, I'm broken and I don't know what to do about it. It's okay to not know. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay. It's okay, because as we've said probably 5 times on here, you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
that is okay. And we're constantly learning. That's where you need to look to those strong leaders with empathy, love, and compassion. You know, those people like the 3 of us,
Yes.
to give you that guidance, to not put so much of our opinion in what your decisions are. We are simply bringing all of the broken pieces of ourselves to the table and saying, you know what? Yep, this piece here was when, and then this piece over here was the good stuff. And then we kind of put them together and we make this mosaic of just messed up stuff. And doesn't everybody have a mosaic of some kind in their house?
Yes.
Whether it's a vase or the floor or a tabletop, and we think it's so beautiful. That's who we are. That's us as human beings. We're all broken in different colors and we're all kinds of messed up. But when we're all put together and we're laid into this beautiful place,
Yes.
it all looks beautiful.
And you know what? Being different is what makes things the most beautiful, because and that's what makes everything so unique.
Mhm.
You know, think about how difficult that was for God to create every person, 6, 7, 10 billion people, and everyone is different.
All of it.
Isn't that amazing? You know, what if everybody looked the same? What if Fritz had to marry a Fritz?
Oh, gosh. That's scary.
Right? And the pastor was Fritz, and the whole audience was Fritz's, you know. That would be fun. So you see how crazy that sounds? So being different is what makes life great. You know, you can go out and you can just, every person you walk past is their own unique person. And, you know, and just like everyone says, like a lot of people walk around and they feel unimportant, but they were born a winner. You know, they like, look how many sperm you beat out
Right.
to get here. So you won the race.
That's right.
So here's one thing, you know, you may feel bad or you may feel like life is not treating you right. But one thing you can't tell yourself is that you're not fast, right? You beat everybody else. So I think what starts to beat people down is they surround themselves in the wrong environment, around the wrong people who, you know, don't encourage. Because if you're living life and no one's encouraging you or no one's, you know, telling you the best things about you, life starts to get hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's such an important skill when we talk about leadership. You know, we're not always talking about, you know, the 3 of us as being
Right.
leaders. That's not the kind of leadership that we always talk about.
Mhm.
It's, you know, that's why I asked you the question, how do you lead yourself? Because a lot of people I don't think understand, nor do they know how to actually lead themselves. And that's one of the things that we teach, and that actually her and I are struggling very much with identifying. We know it's there. We know it has to be done, but it's that research and development, if you will, as to how does that work? How do you wire yourself to lead yourself? And what does it take to lead yourself? Because you, Frank, you know, you are a servant leadership, you know, and I've watched it, and I've watched you put out for absolutely everybody and leave nothing for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you and I haven't had arguments. You're right. We've never fought, but I have called you out on taking care of yourself many times.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And because I do see you drain your tank, and I do see you not eat.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if we're going to talk metaphors, I do see yourself not eat. So even as a servant leader, there has to be a position that you take that you still have to serve yourself.
Yeah.
So that you can serve others.
That question was so great that I don't think 99% of the people can answer it. And that's why you'll feel a big void teaching people how to do that, because now you got me wanting to learn how to serve. How to serve. You know, that's something that you really got to sit back and really think about. I mean, when you asked that question, it just hit so hard. It was like, wow. And that's deep. It gets deep because a lot of people lead people, they do things, but you never sit back and ask yourself that question. That's a deep question.
Yeah. Or a lot of people will come to the table and pretend they're leaders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and they throw their weight around and lead people who don't understand what that means. Like how to, you know, to follow the good leaders.
Right.
I got a lot of that in the military. You know, you look up to somebody because they outrank you, because they have a little bit more knowledge than you. Does it mean you should follow them? No, certainly not. But you don't know, because you've never been taught, you've never been led. You know, in school, you're taught to mind your own business and sit down in the chair and don't be creative, do what you're told. And, you know, and then you go into the military or you go to college and you're kind of on an alien planet. You don't really know, you haven't quite figured yourself out yet. And wouldn't you say it's true that even, you know, 52, 43, yourself, my husband even, who studies servant leadership.
Yes.
Before, you know, we are constantly always learning another level or another depth of who we are, how far we can push, our mental fortitude, what we're willing to deal with and not deal with. And that's how relationships are either mended or completely fall apart, because we choose to go, you know what, I love you, but it's not going to work anyway. I just, you know, I've grown. And when people say, you know, people change over time, that is really a true thing. That's really what happens. But it doesn't mean that we don't care or love for that other person.
Right.
That they're not in our season anymore. We've grown past that piece.
That's it.
You know, we just have to learn, you know, we've got to really turn it inward. We hit a certain point, and I think it's called midlife crisis. We're running, we got a goal, we've got this checklist of things that, you know, we're taught that we have to have in order to be successful, when the whole time we've really had it, but yet we choose to, I don't want to think about those bad things that have happened.
Yeah. Until
we're forced to really take a look at the bad things that have happened. Because if you really take an honest look at what's happened, you can see the fork in the road, right? You can see where, oh, I went this way. I zigged when I should have zagged.
Yes.
Right? And we tend to get lost in the wilderness or go around the mountain a few times before we come back and go, okay, wait, let me take a deeper look within. Because then all of a sudden we think, all these leaders, they don't give a damn about where I'm going right now.
True.
Because they've got their own checklist that they're going through. And that's where we have slowed down. And even for you, Frank, you've reached a point in your career where it's not about the Benjis.
No.
It's about showing people their true light, who they are and what they're capable of doing. That in itself, money makes whatever. It's not even a real thing. It's a piece of paper that somebody has put value on. It really doesn't have any. P.S. I don't know if anybody knows that in the world, but the money you're carrying around with you has absolutely no value.
Why it's called a promissory note.
It has no value.
I can put, I promise to pay you $20 on a napkin, and it has the same freaking value.
Right.
Yep. It's not backed by gold anymore.
Yeah.
No.
So people earn when they provide value to people's
Yeah.
lives. And, you know, for us, this is how we provide value. And if you take it and you run with it and you build an empire with it, then that's what it was meant to be for. So.
And you know what? That's great, because remember I was telling you guys earlier that people never forget their coaches and teachers. And the reason why is because they brought value
Yeah.
to those people's lives. You know, my grandma was 97 when she passed away. But I remember on her 90th birthday, she got up and did a speech. And one of the things she kept talking about was her teachers. And, you know, a relative of mine tapped me in the shoulder and was like, well, wasn't she born in 1917? I was like, yeah. And they were like, does she remember teachers from the 20s? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So imagine going your whole life and not forgetting the impact a person put on you. You know, we were in like the 2000s, 5, 6, or 7 or something like that, or 8. And she's remembering how a person impacted her lives in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with you guys. Is like when you change people's lives and when you help them, they'll never forget that. So yeah, that's worth more than any monetary value.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Well, we can't thank you enough for being here on this week of leadership that we have.
Yes.
And we definitely want to have you back on. I think the next time, though, we plan on being in the same room together.
Yeah.
You definitely got to start tuning in. And I can't wait till you guys start your coaching session on in.
Awesome. Thanks for all of your time. We so much appreciate you and so much gratitude for you and your family and all of the success that you had, and for you guys knowing each other, because now you're a part of my family too.
Oh, definitely. For life.
For life.
Very honored, Frank. Thank you, and I love you, brother.
Hey, love you too. Coach K, love you too. Thank you guys.
Love you too. See you later.
See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.